Hey everyone, how's it going? Forrest here again with another installment of my complete analysis of all 389 Bach chorale harmonizations. Today we're looking at O Ewigkeit du Donnerwort, which translates to O Eternity, You Word of Thunder. A very poetic title. Pretty straightforward chorale. Has a really interesting part in the B section that I'm going to talk about. At least my analysis for it was pretty interesting. Definitely something you wouldn't find in your typical chorale. But regardless, we're just going to get started. So first, the key that we're in, 1 flat in the key signature. We end on F major. We start on F major. I think it's safe to say that we're in the key of F major. And we start off on an F major triad, which is just a 1 chord. We have some passing tones in the soprano and the tenor. And then again, we have another F major triad. Just the voices get rotated. Then we have G, B flat, E, and B flat. That is an E diminished triad in first inversion. That would be a 7/6 chord. In the key of F major, we then have A, F, and C. That is another F major triad, but this time we're in first inversion. And then we have another F major triad, F, A, and C. So no need to redo the Roman numeral, just need to change the figured bass to reflect the fact that it is now in root position. We then have B flat, F, B flat, and D. That's a root position B flat major triad, or a 4 chord with a passing 7th in the alto. C, G, and E. That is a root position C major triad, or a dominant chord in the key of F major. And then we cadence on F. It's a perfect, authentic cadence, 5/1. The tonic is in the soprano. And then we get another 1 chord, just the voices change, F, A, C, and F, passing 7th in the bass, passing tone in the soprano, and then we go to a D minor triad, D, F, and A. That is a root position D minor triad, or a 6 chord. We then have C, B flat, G, and B flat, C, B flat, G, and B flat. I think this C is an accented non-chord tone. B flat, D, G, and B flat. That is a G minor chord in first inversion, so 2/6. And then we have A, C, G, and C. The passing tone in the tenor. I think that is a would that be an A minor triad, an A minor 7. This G is held over, so it's kind of like a long suspension going on in anticipation for the cadence. We'll call it 3/7. And then we have D, A, F, and C. That is D, A, F, and C. That is a D minor 7 chord in root position. So 3 does want to go to 6, so we kind of have like a circle of fifths or falling fifths going on. We then have G, B flat, F, and B flat. I think what's going on here is instead of this being a 2/7 chord, even though actually 6 does want to go to 2, that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call this E right here, the part of the suspension, but this is G, B flat, F, and B flat. We're going to go ahead and call that a 2/7 chord in root position, because this seems like a cycle of fifths, like a falling fifths progression. 3 wants to go to 6, which wants to go to 2. A, C, F, and A. That is a F major triad in first inversion, passing tone in the bass, and then we cadence on 5. This is a half cadence in the key of F major. We then get our first hint at chromatic harmony here. We have C sharp, A, E, and A. That is A major over C sharp. So 5/6 of 6, because it's the dominant of D minor, which should come next. D, A, E, and F. So this E right here is a suspension. We get some really interesting suspensions going on. The fact that the suspension takes the whole beat and it doesn't resolve is kind of interesting, but we get a D minor triad here, D, A, and F. This E right here will probably resolve later on. 6, passing tone in the bass. F, A, there's our D, E goes down to D, and the 6 chord turns into a 6/6. F, A, D, and F, and then it kind of turns back into a 5/3 here. We see this pattern a lot 1, 2, 3, and then back down, or in this case it's 6, 7, 1, and then back down to 6, and it reinverts the chord or puts the chord back into root position. And then we have a root position G minor triad, G, G, D, and B flat. Or maybe there is an argument for it to be 7, because the same way that we had it here, or rather, maybe I'm confusing it with another chorale. Yeah, I think I'm confusing it with another chorale, actually. Whether you want to contextualize this D as the note that we're continuing as part of the chord, or whether we're contextualizing this E, we'll change it between G minor and E diminished. But we're going to call it a root position 2 chord, because 6 wants to go to 2. Either way, I think they're really achieving the same thing here. And then we get B flat, A, F, and A. I think let's see, so actually, sorry, I said B flat, sorry, I'm confusing my clefs here. D, A, F, and A. Back to 6 with the passing 7th of the bass. And then we have B flat, D, F, and G. That is a G minor 7 over B flat, or 2, 6, 5 in the key of F major. C, C, E, and G with the passing 7th in the tenor. That is a 5 chord. Then we cadence on 1, a perfect authentic cadence. Okay, moving on to the shorter of the two sections, but the second system on the way this is notated. We have F, A, F, and C. That's another 1 chord, but I'll go ahead and mark it because we're on a new system, just for ease of reading. And then we have, let's look ahead to the next cadence. So we have a cadence here, G, B flat, D, and G, preceded by a D7 chord. So we know that we're getting a perfect authentic cadence in the key of G minor, because we're seeing E flat, we're seeing C sharp, we're seeing F sharp. We know that we're going to G minor. And I think this next chord is our pivot chord. So this is, here I'm there's a little bit of a stretch here, but because the E flat happens after the fact, I think the pivot happens either here or here. But really this descending line right here, I don't quite hear it until the E flat and the E happens here. So maybe there's an argument to be made that it happens right at the beginning of the phrase, but I think it happens a little after. So we have E, B flat, G, and G. That is a 7 chord in the key of F major. But in the key of G minor, what would that be? That would be a 6 diminished chord. And that 6 diminished chord is a reflection of the melodic minor scale, the E natural, in the context of G minor, as opposed to E flat. But we get E flat on the next beat, so we have this descending line where the chords don't necessarily function the way that you would expect them to, but it really is just he's maintaining the integrity of the line by smooth voice leading, which is ultimately what the goal of harmony is the best sound, and I did air quotes, you can't see me there, but the best sound is the result of the voices moving the least amount from one chord to the next. And that's really what's happening here, is the voices are all either static or moving stepwise. So E flat, C, G, and A, that is an A diminished 7th chord, or it's not fully diminished, it's half diminished, so an A minor 7 flat 5 over E flat. That would be a 2 half diminished, and then E flat's the 5th of the chord, so 2, 4, 3. Then we have D, D, F sharp, and B flat. Really interesting. This is a B flat augmented triad over D, so that would be 3 plus 6. Really interesting. I think this is the first augmented triad we've seen get such weight. I had to go back and look because it didn't seem natural, or it didn't seem, I don't want to say natural, it didn't seem normal for me to see, because it's not a very common chord you'll find, especially in Bach's music, that isn't a byproduct of counterpoint. Like this is a chord, not a contrapuntal harmony. Then we have C sharp, E, G, and B flat. That's a C sharp diminished triad, fully diminished 7th, so that would be 7, 7 of 5, because C sharp is the leading tone to D, and D is the dominant. And we would expect that to go to D, D, A, G, and A. Same thing that we had up here. This suspension that's being created right here doesn't resolve until the next beat. We're just going to call this 5. We also get a passing tone in the tenor. And then it turns into a 5-7 chord here when the suspension resolves. And then we get 1 right here. Perfect authentic cadence in the key of G minor. So if we look ahead, we're getting towards the last cadence. We know we're going to modulate back to F major, but when does it happen? Well, we could say that a direct modulation happens right here, but for the sake of, continuing the way that I've analyzed the music in the past, I'm going to try and use common chords as much as I can. And I'm going to say that this G minor is a common chord. It's no longer 1, because we're in the key of F major, it's now 2. So that's just the way that I'm choosing to contextualize it. So then 2 goes to 1-6. This is just an F major triad over A, right? A, C, F, and C. And then we have B flat, F, and D. That is a root position B flat major triad with a passing 7th in the tenor. And then we have C, G, C, and E with a passing 7th in the alto. That is just a 5 chord in root position. And then we have D, F, A, and F. That is a root position D minor triad, or just 6. Then we have 3 passing tones. Let's see if that changes the chord at all. We have E, G, G, and F. So no, that's not a tertian triad, so we'll just call them, passing tones. It doesn't seem significant enough to analyze or warrant another Roman numeral. F, A, F, and A. Is that right? Yeah, F, A, F, and A. The passing tone in the tenor. That is just a root position 1 chord with an interesting doubling of notes, doubled root and doubled third. And then we have C, C, F, and G, again with this really interesting suspension here. This is just a big 5 chord. And then the suspension resolves here when it goes down from F to E. So that was kind of like a motive that we see in the piece a couple of times. We see it at the end, we see it here, and we see it here. This tie over the bar line and then a suspension that resolves on the next beat, which is kind of interesting. And then of course we cadence on 1 with the perfect authentic cadence in the key of F major. This is a really interesting chorale. This G minor section is very beautiful if you listen to it. I had to freeze. Sorry, I knocked my pad up. If you freeze right here and you just listen to that one sonority, or if you sit down at your keyboard, or if you just sing the chord yourself, it's a really beautiful moment. And it's really just a byproduct of these 2 lines just going against one another. G, A, B flat against E, E flat, D. It's a really beautiful descending line, and how it sort of manifests in the chorale is a really beautiful moment. Overall, really fun chorale to analyze, straightforward. If you're looking for an instance of augmented harmony in a chorale, this is one to go to. That's all I really have to say about it. Thanks so much for watching the video. I look forward to tomorrow's analysis. Take care.